Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Here we go again. We're going to look at a commercial. We're going to go behind the scenes. You're going to uncover the look of this commercial as I did on the journey with me together. Even though I shot it about 6 months ago, we're going to pretend that I didn't and that we're all doing this in real time. So you're going to be exposed to what does a commercial cinematographer do when they actually get contacted about a job? What are the decisions that they make? What are the things that you need to do in order to be successful? Or in my case, not successful, right? Just enough not to get fired. That's the key. That's what we want to do all the time, right? That's how you make the buckets and buckets of cash that we have talked about in past episodes. If you like this stuff, in fact, if you like this breakdown, I've already done it. I've done it on the podcast, Wandering DP Podcast. Done it for 10 years. If you don't know about it, it's in the link in the description below. Also, the way that this is all possible is through the support of Patreon. You get lots of extra goodies over there. It helps keep the channel going. I appreciate it. That link is in the description below if you want it. Okay, let's get into a commercial. Now, I don't have to guess about this one because I actually shot this one. We're going to go through, and rather than explain, oh, this is where you put the light, and this is how you set the light, and this is the diffusion that you use, all of those things are important, right? Except for in the cinematography world, you don't do any of those things as a cinematographer, right? You might suggest, or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe this is just my own style. I don't do those things. I tell people around me, hey, this is the mood that we would like to create. Can you do that? If the answer is yes, I never have to think about it again. If the answer is no from the other people in your team, if the answer is no, they don't know how to do that, well, then I have to do all those jobs. And at the same time, I have to make a mental note to get a completely new team the next time I do this because I should not be worrying about these things. I need big picture. What are the things that we're going to tackle? And all of that happens before the actual shoot. So let's walk through the process here and let's see what we uncover. Okay, so like any commercial project, the director is going to be on it long before you are. So what do you do with your little fingers and toes when you get contacted about a job? You cross them and you hope that the director is very good at their job, right? That makes your job significantly easier. You want the director to be good. If you're working with people that are not better than you are, you're in trouble, right? You don't want to be the strongest link in the chain. You want to be the weakest. You want to just be holding on, right? That's how you do good stuff. That's how you get the buckets. So you need them to be photographically minded because they're going to be setting all the storyboards generally, right? Sometimes you'll be approached about a job and it's too complex. There's too many angles, or maybe it's like a run and gun type thing. But usually in the commercial space, the director and the production company, they have to convince the agency that they're going to be the right ones for the job. And the way that they do that is through the treatment, through the vision that they're going to have for the treatment, how they're going to treat the actual words that they have been given. This is how I'm going to do it. And for at least the majority of the time, that is done in some small way through storyboarding or shot listing. So you will get a series of shots that are necessary. Director reaches out, the production company reaches out and says, hey, Patrick, are you available to shoot these days? And I go, yes, I am certainly available. In fact, you never have to ask me because I'm always available because I'm not doing anything else, right? I would much rather be shooting than doing this. So please hire me. So they contact you and they send you these boards. Okay, now you don't know anything else apart from the boards. Maybe sometimes, maybe you'll talk to the director beforehand, but this is usually the first thing that you are seeing. And immediately we have some questions that are going to make our jobs easier if we answer them, right? And what is that question? What kind of scene are we shooting? What kind of commercial are we shooting? How many scenes is it? Is it going to be a montage ad? If it's a montage ad and there's not a story that we have to keep in order, as in sometimes you'll have a commercial where, I don't know, the 30-second commercial is going to play out in real time, which means you're going to shoot and it's all got to feel like it's the exact same time of day. Now we know that that is going to be a harder commercial to shoot in terms of cinematography wise, because we're probably going to shoot over a, I don't know, say it's a 10-hour day. We're going to shoot over 10 hours. It has to look like it takes place over 30 seconds. Okay, that's going to have its own challenges. I don't like challenges. I want to make it as easy as possible to get great images, right? That's the whole goal of doing any pre-production, is to eliminate things that are going to make it more challenging. So first thing I'm looking, is it a montage ad or does it all take place in real time? Do we have to shoot this as though it's all happening at the same time? In this ad, what do we got? We see boards. I see, car against a tree, crash, something has happened. We've got some cleats or boots. We've got a footy ball in there. The car has crashed, airbags deployed. Old mate here has fallen asleep at the wheel. Hopefully not too many vinos here. Then we come in the back seat. We're shooting through the windshield. Again, back to this shot. Okay, we're already eliminating shots. That's good, so we can take that off. We've got a close-up, right? That's probably in diopter territory. I'm already thinking, in comes a hand. There's a hand of another person. Okay, so that's 2 people. Now we've got in the scene 1 car. Back to our close-up, which looks like the same lens as this. We're saving time again. Then we, reverse. We've got a brand new angle. New angles means more time. More time to rearrange the camera, more time to set up new lights, more time to hose yourself. Also, more set to see, right? Every time we change an angle, this is an area back here that we've never seen before. And now, am I actually thinking this when I look at the boards? No, because I've thought of it 1,000 times. I just look at the boards and go, oh, this is more complicated, right? Because we've introduced this shot, more complication. More complication means we're probably going to need more time. That means when I look at the location pictures, I'm going to have to make sure that we've got, instead of just 90 degrees of interesting set, let's come back here, right? Instead of, let's just call this 90 degrees of set. This is looking the same way. This is looking the same way. This is looking, maybe a little bit towards the tree there because we got a tree in the background. So maybe, okay, we take it up from 90 to 120 degrees now we need of halfway decent location, which means then already when you're thinking about how many degrees do I actually have to see, well, then that will determine. We haven't even asked the question, is this nighttime? Is it daytime? None of that matters right now. I'm just thinking, okay, well, how much do we actually see and where the light is going to come from? We come back down here. We see our new angle, which means we're opening it up more. We see our matching shot, right? This is the reverse of this shot. And then we cut back to our wide. In comes a lady. Oh, there's another car in the background. We're going to have to keep track of that. And it looks like she saves the day, right? She saves him. So kudos to her for saving the day. That's it. That's all the information that we get. Now, where should your mind go to first? Besides the basics, like, okay, maybe we get this before we talk to the director. Questions are going to be time of day. We already know that it's exterior just by looking at the thing. We know that the car crash, well, we don't know, but we're hoping that the car crash isn't going to happen on camera. Why? Because that increases the budget by about 10,000 times. So we've got a crashed car already stationary. We've got a few bits and pieces in the car. And then really we're only changing direction for this shot. Everything else is pretty much straight down this line. That's good. Okay, we're off to a really good start here for information. Time of day is going to be the most important. Now, I will say this, just as an experienced tip from the commercial world. Anytime you have a time of day question and you ask a director, if they like nice things, and most directors do, at least the successful ones, they're going to say magic hour. They're going to say magic hour for everything. Why? Because magic hour looks nicer for everything. And that could be, pre-sunrise. It could be post-sunset. That's going to be the look, guaranteed 99.9% of the time, unless it's like a sunscreen commercial, okay? Or a skin cancer commercial. It's going to be sunrise or sunset. Now that poses its own challenges. It doesn't pose its own challenges if you shoot on the volume, where you can shoot any time of day that you want. But when you're on actual locations, if this was a montage ad, say this was one car crash in this location, and let's say that there was, 7 different car crashes, and you had to go out and get this shot or this shot in different car crash scenarios. So not all running at the same time. So it's not supposed to run in continuity. That would be way easier, right? That would be a much easier commercial to get if we had to do sunset here or sunrise, and then sunrise again here, and sunrise again here, and sunrise again here. If we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this doesn't count, 6, 7, let's keep going, 8, 9, 10, and that is really a continuation of the wide shot, isn't it? So that's 11. If we were going to do 11 shots at sunrise or at magic hour, do you think that we would make it? No. I mean, maybe you could do it. Even then, it would be difficult, even like a documentary scenario, to get 11 shots, 11 setups. That's not even accounting for performance or agency client feedback. Like, it's going to take forever to get these shots. In fact, I know exactly how much time it's going to take to get these shots because we got them. It took 10 hours. That's how long it takes to get this stuff. So you're not going to get it at sunrise, sunset, which means you're going to have to offer solutions, or you're going to have to tell the director ahead of time, hey, love the idea about this being sunrise or sunset. It's just not going to happen. And I have to tell you that ahead of time so that you can change your plans. If you've promised the client or the agency that this is going to be at sunset or at sunrise, and you figure out, hold on a sec, we can't actually do that, then you want to know that ahead of time. so that you can brief them, so that we can then change the look and we can decide on the best look possible. You are coming in hot with solutions. Now, would I ever say to the director, you know what? You want it sunrise, sunset for this wide shot? It's not going to happen. Like, it's a zero out of, like, we're never going to get it. No, I'm not going to say that. Why? Because we can get the wide shot, and definitely at magic hour, right? Let's just call it magic hour. We can get the wide shot at magic hour. These inserts, we can definitely do stuff here, stuff here. Those 4, those are easy to do because we can tint the entire thing. Okay. These wider shots, these take a little bit of time. Okay. We're seeing too much of the location real estate to be able to control it unless we've got buckets of cash, and because cash solves everything, or we have 2 days. Like maybe we can shoot this over a 2-day period. It's what do you want more? Do you want sunrise, sunset look? Do you want magic hour look over 2 days? Or do we want to come up with a compromise for 1 day? And then we decide together. These are the conversations that you're having. Okay, so that's even before we have even talked to the director. These are the things you're building up in your mind. Looks like it's going to be all in one spot. Looks like it's supposed to take place all in real time, which means in the 10 hours now. And because we're shooting exterior, the number one thing that we are looking for, apart from the location, is the schedule. The schedule and the time of day conversation. So we'll fast forward here, and I'll tell you that the time of day conversation started out as, well, this lady who's in this other car who ends up saving the day, come down here so you can actually see it. Let's zoom in. Oops, it's not going to let us zoom in, is it? You dog. This lady here, right? She saves the day by saving this guy's life. She pulls up in this other car. She runs over here and saves the day. That's the whole point of the ad. She's coming back from a night on the town. So this is going to be sort of sunrise-esque. We don't want it in the middle of the day. That's from the conversation with the director. That's the stuff you learn. The other important thing that you have to know before we talk about the biggest challenge of this entire shoot and the thing that made the look possible. Actually, should I show you the look? I probably should. Even though, let's see. So, lady runs up to a car crash. Ta-da! As she runs up, there's a man inside. He's not breathing. He's hunched over. She runs from the back from her car over there. She runs over to his car. Ta-da! Now she arrives at the car, right? This is the wide shot. We go from there to, she's going to lift up his chin to allow some air to get in. We see all the little bits and pieces like from the crash. And in she reaches. Let's go a little bit closer so we can see this. In she reaches to lift up the chin. And this is her friend looking on. And she calls for the ambulance. Ta-da! That's it. Okay? That's the spot. Now that you've seen how we ended up making the boards a reality, now we can go into talking about how does that look actually come about? What's the biggest question here? The biggest question is we've got a tree that the car has to hit. So the locations people have to find a tree that's fairly close to the road. Another important thing is we can't have like a gigantic road in the background because that makes things more complicated from a traffic management standpoint. We've only got so far that we can go away from the city that we're shooting in before you start to get crazy high prices for crew to go out that far. So there's limitations in how far away you can get just logistically from the city, which means, okay, now we're working with different types of roads. But really, we need a tree on the side of the road. Now, because we decided that the look was going to be, there's just too many shots to get through for a pre-dawn look. So we're going to go with post-dawn. Well, we're going to go with not sunrise, but early morning hours. So we want the sun as low and as raking in the sky as we possibly can. So let's jump now to some possible locations. I just pulled from random possible car locations that you would have, and we're going to talk through the pros and cons and why we settled on the location that we did. What's the pros here? Okay, let's take this one for example. There's a tree here. Can we again zoom in any more on this? Let's take this first example here. There's a tree right by the side of the road. Okay. Remember, in Australia, we're driving on the left-hand side of the road, not the right-hand side of the road. So let's say this thing crashes. Okay. Main problem, just from a cinematography point of view, the main problem is that we've already seen the boards. We know we're going to be doing the wide shot. And then we know, more importantly, that there's 3 or 4 shots. This one, right? The end frame, and then these two frames where we see so much of the surrounding environment while we are shooting them that we're not going to be able to tint them. Okay, so we have to have the angle of the sun right, and we have to have the look that we establish in the wides able to be reproduced throughout the entire day. That is the whole, that's the whole challenge with a commercial like this. So if we just imagine that we crash the car here, okay, into this tree, and we're shooting, let's say we're shooting this way, right? Let's just say for some reason the car comes from this side of the road and over here and crashes. Okay. If we're shooting this way, sun is coming up over here, right? Maybe, okay, the sun is here when we can get some long raking shadows coming this way. It's going to be interesting. That's okay. But as we go through the day, right, for the next 9 hours that we're on set, the lighting is going to completely change. It's going to be very hard to control. And what we can't control that is the most important is the background over here, right? This giant area of field is going to be a nightmare because it's going to be nuclear. And we want to take that level way, 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 way down. Now, there's 2 approaches you could do. If you wanted to keep this area way, 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 way down, right, this background, we could bring in, just imagine again, the car has crashed here. Our man is asleep at the wheel over here. Our girl's going to run up and she's going to save him from this side. We could bring out the 18Ks and we could pump level inside of this car, just smash it so that we could take down the background. Think of it like strobe lighting for photography, right? You really have to overpower the ambient to make it seem dark outside. 2 problems. Number 1, incredibly expensive. I already know that with the budget that we're working with at this level, that option is gone. So never, ever going to use it. Not going to happen. Never going to be a thing. The other side of that is it takes forever to set up. So time, right? So time, equipment, just not going to happen. What does that mean? That means that we don't want a giant open field on either side of the car. Because if we have a giant open field, that means we're going to have to switch from, just after sunrise, the look, to now we're going to have to go daytime. There's no way to fight daytime because it's going to be so bright out there. And yes, you can do a lot in the grade, but man, it gets real thin. And you don't want to promise, oh yes, we can get this look, and then not be able to do it on the day. Right? We want to do as much as we can on the actual shoot. Other problem from story-wise is that if we look at this location, this guy that has crashed, actually, let's go to the actual shot. The guy that has crashed, which is here, right? It can't be residential because then if you heard somebody crash outside your house, someone else would come and save you. So we cannot see any houses. So it has to be completely free and clear. Okay. So that's other issue besides just having the tree itself. So keep that in the back of your mind. As we come up over here, this guy's got nowhere to crash. If we can't see houses, generally in the geography where we are in Western Australia, if you have an open road like this, there's nothing around. Okay, nothing around isn't good for what we just talked about. What we just talked about, I need built up areas around the car that can act as shade, that we can backlight. Okay, I want to backlight let's just imagine the car is here. Okay, and let's say that there are trees over here. Trees over here, if the sun comes this way and shines down on them, what can I do? I can backlight the trees. And so the front of the trees, the part that's facing the camera, is dark. I want dark to camera. That means that during the day, while we're shooting the medium shots, I can play it way more down with way less level. Okay, that is how you keep a look consistent throughout the entire day. So this doesn't work because it's a giant open field. Okay, so that one's out. We don't need a location like that, even though that was 99% of the locations that got sent through. Other ones, okay, we can't have like a ditch. Like just imagine we're seeing this and the location manager is sending these through and then they send them through to the cinematographer and they say, what do you think? I go, okay, well, number 1, these trees are too far over, right? And it's got to go over this ditch. So how are we going to operate with this ditch there? It's going to be a nightmare. Car's going to be on an angle. We're going to have to be looking at an awkward angle. Also, it looks like the sun is on this side, right? All the shadows are coming this way, which means if the car is over here, I need the sun on this side of the frame because we spend 90% of the commercial looking this way. And I want this thing to be backlit. So unless we can crash it over here on this side, this is no good. And if we can crash it on this side, there's too much open space over here. So I need more trees. You say to the location manager, please, more trees. Are there any other options where it's more built up with foliage? And then they send you something like this. It's like, okay. Other thing to mention with Australia is this is not Scandinavia. This is not, we're going to have some, soft, super low raking sun the entire day, or it's going to be misty, or we don't have that luxury. It's going to go from the sun down here to the sun straight up in the sky in 2 hours time, and it's going to stay straight high in the sky for the entire shoot day. So we're trying to recreate something that's very difficult in the environment that we are. Problem here with a road like this is, again, it's more tree and fall off, right? That's what we're looking for. In an ideal world, what we need is a tree very, very close to the road, and then lots and lots of trees on both sides like this, built up. I mean, this is good foliage buildup, but it would be better. It's almost too built up, right? Because we want some amount of level. Because we're working on a budget, we're not going to be able to come in and light this thing up. And I knew on the day it's going to be sunny because we're shooting this thing in the dead of summertime. We need spaces where we can get a little bit of ambient through that we don't have to light up, because everything that we have to light up increases time and it increases expense. So we go from there to the location that we actually land on. Okay, this is the location that we actually land on, and let's go a little bit closer. Okay, so over here, you see our tree. This is our hero tree. Now, this is actually a cul-de-sac. Great for production. Why? Because there's only like 3 houses that they have to shut down on this side of the road. Fantastic. Everybody's winning. They're happy. I'm happy. This tree is going to be our hero tree right there. And you can see the sun path, right? 7 a.m., this is really the look, 7 to 8, is really the look that we can sell for the entire commercial. We can't really sell the 6 a.m. look, the entire ad, and we don't want to be selling anything higher than the 9 o'clock ad, the 9 a.m. look. We want this 7 to 8. Can we sell that for the entire space of the ad? I think the answer is yes. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a car here. It's going to be backlit. We're going to have another car drive down a driveway here, and this is where the hero car is going to park. Okay, hero car, other crashed car. In this scenario, just looking at this, let's see if we come to this one. This is looking the opposite direction. So our tree that we crash into is right here, right out of the frame here. This is looking in the afternoon. Okay. Now, if you look at this, we could shoot in this direction or we could shoot in the other direction. When is the best time to do the wide? Just in general, not in this specific location. In general, it's best to start with the wide, because as we move in, number one, the director's going to be happier, the talent's going to be happier, because they can all get a feel of the geography, the lay of the land, and how the scene is actually going to operate. It's very difficult to start with inserts or to start with the coverage and then work your way back. Not impossible. It's just not ideal from the times that I have done it. So normally you want to start with the wide. Can we do the wide if we're starting just having a normal day? Let's say we start here at 6. We're going to end at 6. Okay, we've got 12 hours. We don't want any of this front light bashing into our car. So that means that we're going to have to do the wide first, right? And now the question is, if we're going to do the wide first, what's the earliest that we can start? Because remember, we have like this time period between 6 and 8 a.m. That's going to be the most important time on set. We're going to be racing around to get as much wide stuff as we can, looking this direction, done. So how early can we do it? Because everybody wants to do it as early as possible because we want to be ready for 6 a.m. We've got lots to do. We've got to put the car in. We've got to place the other car for the big wide shot. We've got lots and lots of stuff to do. When can we start? Can we start at 6 a.m.? I just told you no. We can't start at 6 a.m. because if we start shooting at 6 a.m., if we start shooting this shot at 6 a.m., it's going to look like 6 a.m. And then by the time we get to this shot, it's going to look like 9 a.m. And we're not going to be able to fix it, especially when we get to, where is it? this shot, right? This shot, it's not going to look like 6 a.m. at all. Why? Because we can see so much of the background. We can see so much of the road. So when we come back to this main shot, what time can we be filming this setup? That's the main question, because the schedule flows off of that. And you could see like the sun path is here, basically up that way, right? And if this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. Okay, by the time we're shooting, it's actually a little bit different. It was probably, I think the call time ended up being about 6 for everybody to get in position. That gives you an hour to set up. So this is probably 7 to 7:30. So this is probably a 7:30 sun. You can see it just out of the frame there. In fact, I think it's in the full, we shot full chip. Let's see if it's actually in there. Yeah, you can see the actual sun there. Okay, so this is the wide shot. Now the thing that's going to hose us for continuity to make this not feel like it's all happening at the same time is level in the road. We want to avoid, this sun is going to go straight up in the sky, and then this road is going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. To keep it down and sort of dark, we need not a lot of sun on the road. So what you have to do is you walk out to this location, you walk to the spot that you're standing, and you take Sunseeker, and we go back to Sunseeker, and we go, okay, if I'm standing right here, what time does the sun start to hit the road? And you look and you go, well, 8 o'clock, the sun is hitting the road because it gets above these trees and it really starts hosing down this road. It's like, okay, well, we have to be out of here then by 8. If we have to be out of there by 8, how many shots of, let's see, go back to this. How many of these boarded shots do we see the road? I see 1, I see 2, and the shot that isn't boarded here, maybe 3 out the window. The shot that isn't boarded here is the shot through the windscreen, which is, ended up being, where is it? Not that one, not that one. This shot. Okay, we see the road here. So that means we need to get, we need to get 3 shots done before 8 o'clock. And we are going to be moving. Now, the good thing is, in these shots, it's so wide that there really is nothing to set up, right? There's no lighting that we're doing here for this shot or for this shot. We just have to get the camera rolling. We have to get all the equipment set up. We got to get the right thing in the right position. Maybe we do a couple takes, but it's not like performance pieces in the wide. It's more getting the action right. Now, you're never going to get the action right on the first go, right? It takes the talent, the director, everybody a little bit of time to get going. But that's what we're thinking when we're working out, okay, how do we get the finished look? We have to start with what we want, which is that low raking sun. Once you go from low raking sun idea, you can go, okay, what's going to give it away and make it feel significantly brighter? Well, if we see the road, okay, we can't see the road on the wide shots. So that dictates the schedule. Now we do all of the wide stuff as fast as we can, pointing in one direction. And then we see where we're at for timing. Now, ideally what happens is you rush to get through the schedule for the wides. So that one, this one probably, because we end up seeing a lot of road, this one, and the frame that we didn't actually have a board for, that through the window shot. In here, we can do these shots anytime. You're seeing all of this close-up stuff. These shots can fill anywhere inside the schedule that we want. So we've got a little bit of leeway, right? It's almost like these are interiors, and we can do those whether, doesn't matter if the weather's helping or hurting. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter if it's nighttime. So those are the little things in your schedule that you can really start to move around. If we come back to our location picks, the location and the challenges with the location and the challenges with the story, they dictate everything. This pre-production process, you can't get any of the final look if you haven't thought about this stuff beforehand and you haven't had the discussions with the director beforehand. It's not even like, we're not even talking equipment discussions. We're not like, oh, what are we going to shoot on? How are we going to do it? What lenses are we going to shoot on? None of that. The look comes from, okay, we need a tree really close to the road. We need the road to be flat. Now, the problem with this location, and you can see it in this frame, the problem where you as a cinematographer come in is, okay, if we crash the car over here, remember what I said about production saying it has to be a country road for the story to make sense. It cannot be, you cannot see the houses. Okay, if you see the houses, then why wouldn't these people come out of their house and help this person who's had a crash? Makes perfect sense. They've already had meetings on this. They've already discussed it. They've already said to you, there's no way we can show a house in the background. But you as a cinematographer, when you see this location come through, you're like, I really like this location because it ticks a lot of boxes. It ticks all of these trees being backlit all day long. And if they're backlit, I can keep everything way darker, way moodier, and for me, nicer. I like those images better. What can we say here? Well, we can say, rather than shooting, because remember, you have to remember, actually we'll go over here. Get out of this. We'll go over to this. These are the shots that I actually took on the day or on Google Earth. So this is where the car's parked. This is the path of the sun. We don't want to see over here. We can say all of the stuff that is looking this way, we just don't show from the driveway. Like we can't see that driveway there. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's somebody's driveway. So when we're framing the wide shot, we just won't show that driveway. Okay, well that takes care of the wide shot. And that takes care of all the coverage looking in this direction. But we know we're looking in this direction for 2 shots. We're looking for the coverage at the car, back on the girl, and also the other car. When the passenger gets out, we have to see back in this area. What are we going to do? And that's when you say, beauty of shooting cars is why don't we just rotate the car? That way we can shoot it backlit in the morning, and then we rotate the vehicle, and we can shoot into this stuff in the afternoon, right? Because if we come down here, if we flop the car's position, so now the car is facing this way, it'll all be backlit, which means this will still be dark in the background, and we can light the foreground and shoot this way, so we don't ever see the housing. We're only looking one side, right? This is the Mexican reverse, the French reverse, pretty much any country reverse. This is the idea, right? We're going to shoot the same area of the set because we cannot see over here. Those are the solutions that we're trying to come up with on the day. Does that make sense for this first video before we go into the next one talking about the lighting? I think so. Okay, so now that you've got the background, that is part 1 of this video. You see how much goes into the final look. We haven't even talked about the lighting or the solutions that were coming up on the day. That we're going to do in the next video. Again, if you like this stuff, you want to see more of it, Patreon's the spot to do it. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.